is a good spot.
In section 1.1, which we'll look at in 3 stages this week, one of the things we're trying to look at is how can we draw a picture of a relationship? And we're talking about a mathematical relationship. There I am. Okay. A mathematical relationship. Oh, can they see that? I don't know if they can see that. We're
It
filming,
looks backwards.
We're filming for TES and West Marin. Hi, guys.
Say hi, everyone.
Some of you have been on the other side of that at times. There we go. Okay. And, looking at the math, but how to draw a picture of the math. And specifically, how are we going to graph relationships? 2 numbers that have something to do with each other. Okay? Something to do with each other. Is that a stretch or a question? Okay, good. Okay, so we're on page 4 and thinking about what's dependency? So we're going to have a relationship, 2 numbers that have something to do with each other. Well, one of the numbers depends on the other. Have you ever planned a party? Noodle, could you read for us, please?
Where?
Have
Yeah. You may have purchased ice, gone grocery shopping, selected music, made food, or even cleaned in preparation. Many times, these tasks depend on another task being done first. For instance, you wouldn't make food before going grocery shopping, now would you?
All right.
So let's consider the relationship between
The number of hours worked and the money earned. Second bullet, Mr. Martin.
Your grade on a test and the number of hours you studied.
Third bullet, Mr. Oscar.
Your grade on a test and the number of hours you studied.
Next bullet down, Miss Isabella.
The number of games played and the number of points scored.
Okay, I'm still trying to get that third bullet. Andy.
The number of people working are on a particular job and the time it takes to complete the job.
Okay, and last bullet, Brian.
The speed of a car and how far the driver pushes down on the gas pedal.
Okay, so these are some relationships that you can see maybe have a measurement. Speed, what would you measure speed in?
Kilometers or miles per hour.
Kilometers or miles per hour. And then how far you're pushing the gas pedal. Maybe that relationship can relate to a number. I pushed it 1 inch, I pushed it 2 inches, or just a general amount. I pushed it halfway, I pushed it all the way. Okay, so you can see how speed or how one thing's going to depend on another. There are 2 quantities. Let's see. Brody, could you read halfway down the page?
The number 1 is like the light bulb.
Nowhere it says there are 2 quantities.
Oh. There are 2 quantities that are changing in each situation. When one quantity depends on another in a following situation, it is said to be the dependent quantity. The quantity that the dependent quantity depends upon is called the independent quantity.
Number 1, our first task. Circle the independent quantity and underline the dependent quantity in each statement. Okay, so we're going to go back up to those bullets. Let's take a look up here at the first bullet together. I wonder if they can see that. Well, we'll soon find out. I guess we'll have to ask them.
It's also, according to this video, it's backwards. So everything's flipped over like a mirror.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll put Ryan on it. Hang in there, guys. We'll figure it out, okay? But first bullet, the number of hours worked and the money earned. So the word "and" right here kind of separates this into two parts. One of the parts we're going to circle and one of the parts we're going to underline. I think it's easiest to find the dependent first, myself. One of those things depends on the other. Who thinks they have an idea? Does the hours work depend on money earned, or does the money earned depend on the hours worked? Money earned. So let's see. What they ask us to do? Circle independent. So let's see. We're going to circle independent and underline dependent. So we just said money earned depends on hours worked. Okay, money earned depends on hours worked. Let's look at the next bullet down. Again, this word "and" kind of separates this into two parts. Those two parts are two measurements that are related to each other somehow. Your grade on a test and the number of hours you studied. What depends on the other thing? Thank you for raising your hand.
The grade on your test.
Depends on, hopefully, the number of hours you studied. And I say hopefully, because how many of you have studied really hard someday and it still didn't help? No? But usually, if you study a lot, you're going to do better, yes? Your grade is going to go up. Are we getting the hang of this? Okay? We're gonna multitask or divide up the work. These two tables right here are going to take the third bullet down, the number of people working on a particular job. These two tables right here are going to take the fourth bullet down, the number of games played. And these two tables right here have the third bullet down. I think this will take us less than a minute. Talk to the people at your table. Underline the dependent. Okay? Start by underlining the dependent. Ready, go.
If you have one person,
Yeah.
we try and do the underline.
Yeah. And talk to your table. Some of these are harder than others. So you can look at it two ways sometimes. Yeah. Underline the one that depends on something else. Circle the other.
Grade on a test on that.
Does everybody agree? Okay, good.
Number of games.
You guys think you guys got yours figured out? Nice. Yours, do you all agree? Okay.
Yes.
You guys get yours figured out?
Yeah.
How about this table? All right, awesome.
The other one moved it up closer.
Perfect. I was thinking right here is going to work better.
I just put there because
Yeah.
let's charge it. Let's see. That one.
All right, my friends. If I could have your attention up this way. Okay? The third bullet down was these two tables. Oh, Sam? Sam, what do you got?
You underline the number of people and you circle the time it takes.
Can you explain why you did it that way?
Because the time it takes to finish a job depends on how many people you are working.
Okay, so the way you said it is the way I would do it, but we would underline here, this is the one that depends on something over here. That's what we were trying to do. This is the one that depends on the others. You explained it correctly and had it right in your head, but you did the circle and underline backwards of what I would have done. Okay? And some of these, again, if I ask you to do it on the test, maybe write a little sentence explaining, okay, so that I know what you're thinking. Next one down. Somebody want to share? Middle two tables. Thank you, Molly.
We circled the number of games played and underlined the number of points scored because it depends on how many points you scored because of the players playing.
Okay, so I like the way she said her answer too. She told you what to circle, what to underline, and then said because. So again, like I said to Sam, we often probably should qualify your answer or put a little explanation. So the number of points scored depends on the number of games played. If you've only played one game so far this season, how many points do you think you have? Well, it depends on what game you're playing, but say you have 14 points as a team. Okay? Is that a good game?
Depends.
Yeah, it depends on the other team. But what if you had 14 points for the season?
No.
That would be bad. So if you play more games, hopefully your points are totaling up and getting more and more. Good job. Last two tables here.
The speed of the car depends on how much you push the gas pedal.
Okay, so this is the one that depends on something else. You're doing outstanding right now. Mr. Jennings, are you popping in, or do you have a question for anybody? All right, great. Okay, so now we're going to take this a little further. Let's see what it says, number 2. Describe how you can determine which quantity is the independent quantity and which one is the dependent quantity in any problem situation. How did you decide that? How did you decide that? Right now, what I want you to do is you're going to take 1 minute at your table to talk, and then you're going to write something down. There's not a right or wrong answer here. Different people thought about it different ways, but it's putting our thoughts into words. So how did you decide which one depended on the other? 1 minute, ready, go.
This is a noisy table. Good thing they got Sam, right? You're going to be chairman of this table? Good. We'll pull some conversation out of these issues, okay? How can we decide? Was there some clues? Okay, so right there.
I decided that.
Okay, logical thinking. Oh, yeah. Laptop.
All right, so that was our minute, which was a minute to talk. So if you need a tiny bit more time to write something down, please.
I said
This is going to be the big class that sucks up lots of
independent quantity and then dreaming.
Good. I'm hearing good stuff, seeing good stuff. All right. Somebody'd like to share. You think you have an answer that's money? It can be quarters. No. Jerry, you look like you're itching to say something. No, you don't have anything written down? Oh, okay. What do you got?
If one doesn't happen, the other doesn't either.
Oh, interesting. If one doesn't happen, the other doesn't either. So you know they depend on each other that way. Nice. There's definitely other ways to talk about this. Somebody else. Logic. Okay, can you explain what logic means?
Logic is just common sense that something and something else go together. Just like
Thank you. Common sense. You hopefully have some experience with some of these, like gas pedals, right? All right. Logic. Some of it has to do with logic. Anybody else? Molly.
It's a cause and effect situation. So for example, you can't have money if you didn't put the hours into work.
Cause and effect. Which one's causing the other to happen? Which one's causing the other to happen? Now, we got a couple more scenarios. Looking at the top of page 5. Something fishy. So time out. So I've got an idea. And some of you guys might be smarter at taking videos. It's videoing things in mirror image. Should I turn this around? Is there a camera on this side?
No.
Or these all have the camera coming this
It's
way?
all camera going that way.
Okay. Turn the laptop on its side?
We can flip it upside down.
And then just have your laptop on the keyboard, on the little stand you have there.
I think he's saying like, you put it like that?
Yeah.
I think that. How does that look?
Is that the right way? That's the right way, but is it going to be upside down for them?
Probably. Oh, now we have this.
Yeah,
one being
because
covered,
they're not
so-
being projected. We'll work it out. Don't worry. All right. So that was just a little intermission because, and we could maybe even use a phone. I don't know if that would work better, but I don't know if that has the mirror image thing. Okay, something fishy. Directions. Read each scenario and determine the independent quantity and the dependent quantity, and then there's one more step. Be sure to include appropriate units to measure each quantity. So we're doing the same thing, but now we got to think about units. For example, we talked about speed measured in miles per hour, right? Something else was how much you get paid. What would be units? The type of thing you get paid for. How do we count paying? What would we get paid in? Some people get paid rocks. Some people get paid dollars, okay? So the units are the little counting piece that's used. All right, Candace. Candace is building. Wyatt, could you read for us?
Candace is a building manager for the Crowley Enterprise office building. One of her responsibilities is cleaning the office building's 200-gallon aquarium. For cleaning, she must remove the fish from the aquarium and drain the water. Water drains at a constant rate of 10 gallons per minute.
All right. Now, independent quantity and dependent quantity. All right. And it's a little more complicated situation here. What's happening in the situation? I've got a tank of water and fishies. What's happening in this situation? What are they doing to the tank?
Pooping in it.
Fish are pooping, but Candace, what's Candace trying to do?
Clean it.
What? Clean it, but before she can clean it,
Take out the fish.
You gotta take out them fishies.
take out the fishies. That's one thing. Fishies out, but there's something else, Molly.
She has to drain it.
She has to drain it. How do you drain a fish tank? I don't know. Maybe she does a little
Siphon it out with a
siphon, a little siphon thing. Okay. So this is, you got to kind of think about these situations and figure out what's going on. All right, so for cleaning, she must remove fish and then drain. It drains at a constant rate, 10 gallons per minute. Oh, that little rate's going to give us some clues. What does the gallons pertain to?
The amount of water.
Water is getting measured in gallons. And what does the minutes pertain to? Time. Time for what? Time. Time it's been draining. This is a rate or a speed that it's going to drain, but we're kind of breaking that speed into two parts. All right? One clue to you, in many cases, if you have time, that's going to be your independent quantity. Okay, so right now, write down time, measured in minutes. Again, we needed to show units this time. And I'll talk about why that's the independent quantity. The dependent quantity is the amount of water in the tank, right? At the start, it's right here. What has happened after time passes? It's lower. Okay, so dependent is how much water's in the tank. Water in tank. What are our units? What's that getting measured in? Gallons. Okay, gallons. Again, that situation a little trickier to read and figure out. But there was a rate that helped us a little bit. I could see some measuring type numbers. I know that I'm going to do something with those gallons. Okay, I drew a picture to help out with. Now, I gave you a clue that time is often the independent quantity. Other things depend on the amount of time something happens. Time just kind of keeps going. It doesn't depend on things. It just keeps moving. But the amount of water does depend. Depends on the amount of time that drain was going. Okay? That's not 100% always, but in a lot of these, if you see something with time, think about, did that time cause the other thing that's happening? Okay? Smartphone deal. Here we go. Kenya, could you read about the smartphone deal, please?
You have had your eye on an upgraded smartphone. However, you currently do not have the money to purchase it. Your cousin will provide the funding as long as you pay him interest. He tells you that you only need to pay $1 in interest initially, and then the interest will double each week after that. You consider his offer and wonder, is this really a good deal?
Okay, so there's a vocabulary word. I told you this book, because it's real life situations, has some real life vocabulary. But the problem is some of that real life vocabulary isn't high school real life vocabulary. Interest. How many of you pay interest on something? Does anybody have money in the bank where you get interest? One. Does anybody have a loan, like a car loan or something, where you have to pay interest? Not yet, but you're hoping to have one soon. Okay, interest is an amount of money you need to pay extra. If I loan Mr. Craig some money, he's going to say, yeah, but if I'm loaning you $10, Mr. Getty, because I'm giving you that privilege of having my $10, I want $11 when you pay me back. 10 is the principal amount. That's what he loaned me. The $1 is the interest. It's a little bit of extra. It's like a use fee. It's a fee for being able to use his money. Because he didn't have it in his pocket, and so for a little while he couldn't use it. So he's saying, I'll give you that 10, but it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you more than the 10. That's what interest is. We'll talk more about that later. Let's look at our scenario. Actually, you're going to look at this. Now, this is a kind of a hard one. I think maybe we'll look at it together. Okay? Now, I see a time thing. Weeks. And we're already talking about a money thing. Those are our two quantities we're trying to figure out. Which one depends on the other? The amount of money for every week. So what one is the dependent quantity? Money. And the vocabulary word that they're using right now is interest. That means an amount of money. What units are they going to use to measure that amount of money? Well, that's something different. Do you get paid in weeks? Do you get paid in hours? What if I have a certain money and you ask me how much? What would I say to you? Dollars. Okay, so dollars is the unit for money, though weeks is something else. Weeks is a unit for a different part of this problem. What's weeks measure? Time. Okay, so you saw the dollars, you saw the weeks. You could figure out where they go. Maybe a tricky part was deciding what these two things were. All right, let's see. Do we have time for one more? I think we do. Flip the page. Do I like this skiing one? Or do we got a magic one? Baton twirling. Okay, let's go ahead. Can't wait to hit the slopes. How many people ski? Only one skier. Okay, maybe we should do the magic one instead. Not that you probably do magic, but here we go. The amazing Aloysius. Aloysius?
Aloysius.
I think it's Aloysius, but that's not how I'd spell Aloysius.
I'm not even on the same page.
Let's. We'll call it Aloysius, okay? Page 6. Noodle, you want to read about Aloysius for us?
Vicious Aloysius. Alright, then I got this. Amazing Aloysius is practicing one of his tricks. You gotta teach the tricks. As a part of this trick, he cuts a rope into many pieces and then magically puts them back together. He begins the trick with a 20-foot rope. Then he cuts it in half. Then he takes one half and cuts it in half. He does it again until he has a piece that's so small you can't cut it. He wants to know how many cuts do you have to take to make the length of each remaining piece of rope after that total number of cuts.
I got lost. He was reading beautifully, but okay. Let's draw a picture. Sometimes on these big long ones. Okay, here we go. Draw yourself a little rope at the bottom. Draw yourself a rope.
I like your rope.
You like my rope?
Yeah.
Okay. What does he do to that rope first? Cuts it in half. And wait a minute. Part of what this is about, I think, is how many pieces. So when he cuts it one time, how many pieces does he have? Okay. What does he do next?
Both halves in half.
Cuts those both in half. How many pieces?
4.
Okay. So part of what we're talking about is, and what does he keep doing? cutting them in half, and it's not super important to, well, you can imagine how many different little cuts, but part of what you're talking about is how many cuts have taken place and how many pieces do you have. All right? Right now at your tables, 1 minute. If cuts and pieces are the two quantities we're comparing here, what's the independent quantity? What's the dependent quantity? Ready? Go. Talk to the people at your table.
The pieces.
Because the pieces depend on how you cut
Talking about the road. Thinking about pieces. One of those is going to go right here, one of those is going to go right there.
And there are pieces.
When we were talking about it, you think for a second and you decide. Yeah, I'm sure we can find a better bell, huh? Okay. Who has an idea? Thank you, Christian. What do you got?
The independent quantity is cuts, and dependent one is pieces.
Do you agree with him? Now, we are supposed to be thinking about units. This isn't one with dollars or minutes or anything. So how do you count cuts? 1, 2, 3. So just like number. Sometimes I think people will write each in parentheses. Pieces. Same kind of thing. It's a counting kind of thing. So number. I'm just going to put number. I will ask Miss Morell if there's something more specific to put there. Most of these will have a unit. Time, weeks, minutes, seconds, height or length. Okay? All right. That's enough of this for right now. What? Wait. What needs to happen next? I want you to double check that you have your name on that book somewhere. You're going to put the book in a pile of 4 and pick one transporter. Transporter's going to take these books and put them up in this cupboard. Oh, we're not ready to go yet. Sit back down. You have homework. Yeah. So if you have a spot where you're writing down assignments, a planner, a calendar in your phone, eventually you're going to have, I think you're going to have your Chromebook, so we'll set up a calendar, but for now, you're going to need a system. Mr. Craig, you mind working around the side of the room? Okay, today, if I could have your attention up in this corner, please. Okay, in the packet for today, again, this is a whole week, so don't freak out. You're going to do front and back of the first page. First page, front and back. Okay, the front is some of this independent, dependent stuff. What do you see on the back? Integers, adding and subtracting integers. Yes, maybe we need to review that a tiny bit. I'm sure it's something you've seen before, but I'm also sure it's not easy. Okay? Let's start with adding. Let's see. Where's some good? The top is subtract, and subtract's pretty tricky. Let's start with adding. Go down to kind of near the bottom of the page. Everybody should have their packet out right now. What? Okay. And I'm looking at the one that says add or subtract. Minus 6 plus 10. I've got a negative and a positive. What do I need to do with those two numbers? How about this? What if it had been minus 6 plus minus 10?
Negative 16.
That's easy. If they're both negatives, we're just going to add them together. How about, though, if one is negative and one is positive? They're different. Noodle. What?
Just 10 minus 6, right?
10 minus 6.
Yeah.
Or
I was going to say the same thing. You subtract the 2. And then
you got to subtract. If they're different, you got to figure out how different are they. Subtract the 2. And then how do you know whether the answer is going to be positive or negative? Yes. Take the bigger number. So if I subtract 10 and 6, that's 4. And the bigger number is positive. So positive 4. Okay? Let's see right here. 6 plus negative 9. Mr. Bernal. 6 plus negative 9. They're different. Negative 3. If they're the same, it's easy. You add them up and keep the sign, but if they're different. Now, subtract. We're out of time, so I'm going to put, right here on the top, keep, change. Does that mean anything to you guys? Nope? Okay, so do what you can. We may have to talk about subtract tomorrow. But first page only, front and back. You're free to break. How do I stop this? Pause.